All right, let's dive into something called user experience research, or UX research for short. And honestly, the best way to think about it is to imagine a UX researcher as the architect for a digital product. Long before anyone writes a single line of code, they're the ones creating the blueprint. That deep understanding of the users, which makes sure the whole thing is built on solid ground.
Oh, come on, we've all been there, right? You're tapping away at your screen, totally lost, just getting more and more frustrated, and you think, how did anyone think this was a good idea? Well, that exact feeling, that's what great UX research is all about preventing.
And really, that's the core of it. User research is all about systematically figuring out what people truly need, not just what we guess they need. It's about swapping out those risky assumptions for solid evidence so that we can build something people will actually use and love, not just another pretty but useless thing.
So why is this blueprint so important? Well, trying to build a product based on a hunch is kind of like trying to build a skyscraper with a messy sketch on a napkin instead of a detailed engineering plan. It's just a recipe for disaster with major flaws that are going to be incredibly expensive and painful to fix later on.
A really solid research blueprint is just so powerful. It steers the whole strategy towards solving real problems for actual people. It dramatically cuts down the risk of building the wrong thing, which saves a ton of time and money. It also forces the team to build empathy, to really, truly walk in their users' shoes. And all of that leads to one simple, critical outcome: making products that people genuinely enjoy using.
Okay, so how does our architect actually create this blueprint? Well, it all kicks off by asking the right kinds of questions, and these usually fall into 3 key stages.
So, first up, they explore the great unknown with exploratory research. This is what you do when the problem itself is still kind of fuzzy and you need to define what you're even trying to solve. Next, they map out the territory with descriptive research, which is all about carefully documenting what users are doing right now. And finally, they dig into the why with explanatory research, testing ideas to figure out the root cause of those behaviors. It's like a detective story, right? You go from what's even out there to what's happening, and finally to why in the world is it happening.
Now, to answer these big questions, our architect needs to gather materials, which in this case is data. And that data comes from 2 main sources: primary and secondary research.
Primary research is all about rolling up your sleeves and gathering fresh, brand new data all on your own. This is where you're talking directly to users in interviews, you're running usability tests on a prototype, or maybe you're doing a card sorting exercise to see how they organize information. You're getting the answers straight from the source.
Secondary research, on the other hand, is when you analyze data that someone else has already put together. So think academic journals, industry reports, or looking at what your competitors are doing. You're basically standing on the shoulders of giants to get a bird's-eye view of the landscape before you start your own digging.
And right here, you can see the crucial trade-off. Primary research, yeah, it's more resource-intensive. It takes more time, more money. But what you get is highly specific answers tailored to your exact product. Secondary research is way faster and cheaper, and it gives you some fantastic market context, but it's not custom fit. The smartest research plans, they always blend both.
So whether you're gathering data firsthand or combing through existing reports, that information comes in 2 fundamental flavors. And this brings us to the researcher's core toolkit, the split between qualitative and quantitative data.
This slide just cuts right to the chase, doesn't it? Quantitative data is all about measuring the what. How many clicks, how much time was spent on a page, it's the numbers. But qualitative data, that explains the why, the motivations, the frustrations, the whole story behind those numbers.
And they really are designed to answer different kinds of questions. Quantitative research uses bigger sample sizes to find statistically significant patterns, usually through things like surveys, web analytics, or A/B tests. But qualitative research, it dives deep with just a handful of users to uncover those rich insights through open-ended interviews and just observing people. You absolutely need the stats, but you also need the stories. The full picture only really comes into focus when you use both together.
And that brings us to a final, crucial piece of this whole puzzle, something that underpins any research that involves people: ethics. Think of this as the architect's professional code of conduct. It's the very foundation of trustworthy work.
You know, this quote from the Nielsen-Norman Group just says it perfectly. Effective research absolutely depends on people, on human participants. And in return for their invaluable time and their insights, we have a clear professional responsibility to protect their well-being and always prioritize their dignity.
And this code of conduct isn't optional, not at all.
It means always getting informed consent so people know exactly what they're signing up for. It's about being incredibly diligent in protecting their privacy and keeping their data confidential. It's designing your studies to actively avoid any kind of harm, and it's just about being transparent and honest. Ultimately, it's about treating the people who make our work possible with genuine respect.
So that really leaves us with a final thought to chew on. Creating products and services that millions of people might end up using, that's a profound privilege. The blueprint of UX research gives us the power to do it well, but the ethics, they guide us to do it right. So the question we should constantly be asking ourselves is, are we living up to that responsibility?